Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face. Welcome back to the penultimate episode of this series. Pretty much this series, not just this season. We've got 2 episodes left, and then as I said in previous videos, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break for this game, but everything is still up in the air here. Charles Leclerc for Mercedes has been crowned Drivers' Champion. That is off the table. Vettel nor Gasly can catch him, but what is on the table, actually go to the actual standings. What is on the table is the Constructors' Championship still. We are 18 points behind Mercedes. There are 2 races to go. We need to make sure over these next 2 races we pick up 90 more points than Mercedes. Is that doable? Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully it is, but everything is not even going to be sorted after this race. Everything will come down to the last race, our home Grand Prix, where it is going to be a rainy weekend, pretty much qualifying, and the race will be rainy. Everything should be decided in the season and the series finale pretty much. But anyway, we'll head on over to the car development screen and we'll go through what the other teams have done and what we've done. If you've watched the previous episode, you will know that we were building a front wing. We've actually got that front wing built. Has bumped us right to the top of the charts there. So we've got the best engine in the game at the moment and the best front wing. The rest of the parts are pretty good apart from the gearbox. We're absolutely terrible. This gearbox is pretty much useless, only beating out the Alfa Romeo gearbox, but it might have an effect. We'll go over that in a second. But anyway, as we've seen this season, the AI, once again, they're just obsessed with building rear wings. This time we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new rear wings going on to the teams. We've got Red Bull, Williams, McLaren, Renault, Alfa Romeo, Ford have all built new rear wings. Other than that, it was just Aston Martin building a new gearbox, which has bumped them up to second, puts them just behind the works Mercedes team. Aston Martin, a customer Mercedes team. But as we look at Doha, the gearbox is the most crucial part here, and as we see, our gearbox is 11th. And Mercedes do have the best gearbox. The front wing is crucial as well, and the engine is useful. So luckily, we are really good in those 2 areas. The front wing of Mercedes is 8th, but they do have a pretty decent engine, 4th overall, whereas we have the 1st. So this gearbox does have the potential to let us down in this penultimate race. Will our lack of a decent gearbox affect us too much when we've got a really good engine and a really good front wing? We don't know, but it is going to be sunny all weekend. The fuel burn is high. Tyre wear is medium. Don't know what the tyre temperatures are going to be, the track temperature, but hopefully it's pretty decent. It should just be a 1-stop race. So anyway, we'll get straight into things. We'll go for first because we should be able to get first here. We'll take our own Audi sponsorship. We'll go 8 and 7 as we usually do. There's no real reason for going anywhere other than that, and both drivers are pretty much delighted with the car. Meanwhile, just have a quick look because Vettel is leading the way in the Drivers' Championship. He's got 1 more point over Pierre Gasly, but if we just head on over to the drivers, as we can see, they've both got 5 podiums. Gasly's out-qualified Vettel 9 to 5 times, whereas Vettel has outraced Gasly 8 to 6 times. But the most important one, pretty much, other than the points tally, is that Gasly has 3 wins this season to Vettel only getting 1 win, and Vettel got that win pretty early on in the season. All the way back in Russia, he hasn't won a race since then, whereas Gasly won in China, then in Italy, and then won the last race in Phoenix. So we just need 19 points more than Mercedes over these next 2 races. Hopefully that is going to be doable. Hopefully we can pretty much wipe that out this time, but it's just whether our gearbox is totally going to let us down here. But anyway, we're going to get into practice as we usually do. It will be skipped over and we will be back in a second to go through qualifying and see how quick we are compared to the Mercedes. So practice is over. We're not looking too bad, but as we see, the AlphaTauris are looking pretty strong around here. I don't know whether that's just something to do with practice because we've got the AlphaTauris and the just one of the Alphas up there. Mick Schumacher, Mercedes. We've got George Russell looking pretty quick. Where is Charles Leclerc here? 24th. Charles Leclerc massively off the pace here. I don't know what was happening there. We were looking pretty slow at first, but we managed to get some quicker laps in at the end. We don't know how that is going to go through qualifying, but hopefully we are quicker than the Mercedes here. We didn't have a lot of running because it is like a 2:15 track. At least in practice, should be about 2:10 in qualifying. But anyway, we've got plus 5%, so a qualifying performance is not going to be the best. We went for the race trim overall, what we feel we might do through the race. We're not all the way there with Vettel. Back this way, we can make 1 change. We can't adjust this again once we actually head into qualifying. We're pretty much all the way, well, we are all the way there with Gasly. What did we get in the end? At 99%. As you can see, we managed to do a full run on the race trim and then only get one actual time lap in on the quicker tyres. That is the just how long this track is. But anyway, we're going to get in and do qualifying as it is. As we know, we right at the end of the garage with Mercedes, so we're going to get Gasly out first, as usually happens, and it will be Vettel. No, we're running clockwise around this track. We usually run anti-clockwise, but anyway, then we're going to get Vettel out. Gasly does the second run last, and Vettel in a little bit of traffic. And Doha is one of those tracks where a pit stop hardly, let's look at someone who's in the pit. A pit stop hardly costs you any time during the race because you cut out quite a few slow corners. So a two-stop can work around here, whereas even though it's only 23 laps, you're not really losing that much time through a pit stop. So that is something we might have to look at depending on where we actually get on the grid. But anyway, let's get our first lap and done in the books. Someone is going quicker, and that is Leclerc is quicker than Gasly over the course of this first lap. It looks like Gasly's got a dodgy neck or some other sort of injury. But Leclerc looks like he's going to be the quickest car here. Hopefully Gasly is about 7 tenths down over the first two sectors, but Gasly comes across the line. 4 tenths down on Charles Leclerc here. And Vettel will come across the line. Can he go any better than his teammate? He does, by about 100th of a second. Well, pretty much, yeah, pretty much exactly 100th of a second. But look how slow we are over that first lap, which is not good because Leclerc and Russell, although Russell's dropped out of the top 10, now we're 16th and 17th. This problem that I thought we were going to have with the gearbox is a big problem. We upgraded the front wing, but just the gearbox is costing us a lot here. No, Gasly is not the one going first. It's going to be Vettel. We need to get out right about now because it is a long way. We're about 2:11 for our lap, so we need both cars out to make sure they can get through and around to start their final qualifying lap, their final hot lap of this session. And hopefully we can improve because this is not looking good at all. We could just totally be out of the title race if things go this way over this. Although Gasly does improve massively. Norris is now going quicker. Russell has improved, gone above Charles Leclerc. Leclerc is in and out. Vettel's going slower, so it's all down to Gasly here. How close he can get with so... Well, we're getting slowed down by an Aston Martin now, it seems, although Gasly goes quicker in the second sector. Vettel's picked up a little bit of time as well. Vettel comes across the line, jumps up into third, splits the Mercedes, and Gasly will come across the line into pole position. And that is a massive pickup and a massive advantage over his teammate. And Norris doesn't end up going quicker. But look at that. We actually ended up about 7 tenths, 8 tenths quicker than the Mercedes two cars here. Hamilton gets pretty close in a Ferrari as well, which pushes the Mercedes further back as well. So we get rescued there on the second running qualifying. That didn't look promising at all, being 16th and 17th after the first running qualifying. Vettel massively off the pace of his teammate though, but Gasly, an absolutely outstanding lap there. The second and third sectors on that lap, absolutely amazing for him. I think it was it a few tenths down after the first sector and then absolutely flew around the rest of the track. But anyway, let's decide what we're going to do. I think it's smart to go with the medium tyres because we're going to be on them at some point. We get a 15% boost for being on them, and it is 23 laps long. We are going to start on the softs because we're in the top 10, 12, so we can get off them pretty much any time, but we obviously don't want to get stuck in traffic, so we don't want to be overly aggressive. We managed to get the setup pretty much perfect there as well, so we might as well attack from the off since we don't have to worry too much about tyre wear. It's 26 degrees, it is pretty hot, so these tyres are going to overheat pretty quickly, so we just have to watch that as well. Looks like Vettel has also lost a step because him and Gasly are pretty much on a par in terms of overall stats. Obviously Gasly is a little bit quicker in qualifying because he does have the timesheet hero trait. But anyway, let's go down the grid for the 2023 Doha Grand Prix. And on the front row of the grid, we've got Pierre Gasly, followed by Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. Then we've got Norris and McLaren, Tsunoda all the way up there. AlphaTauri carrying that pace through from practice into qualifying. George Russell will start from 5th, 6th for Sebastian Vettel, splitting the Mercedes on the grid. Charles Leclerc starts from 7th, Sainz is 8th. Magnussen in the Aston Martin is 9th. Bottas in an Alfa Romeo starts from 10th place. Giovinazzi will go from 11th, Schwartzman 12th in the Prema, the two Primas right up there in the top half of the grid. Albon in the AlphaTauri 13th, 14th for Daniel Ricciardo in the Ferrari. Schumacher in an Alpha 15th, Perez for Renault 16th, 17th for Ocon, 18th for Vips, Hulkenberg 19th, Stroll 20th. And then we've got Max Verstappen a long way back in the Ford Haas. A disappointing session for him. The two Ford Haas all the way back here. 22nd for Nick De Vries, 23rd for Joseph Newgarden, and then Alonso not having a good season. That Red Bull Honda not up to scratch at all this season. Starts from 24th. We'll switch the camera to Pierre Gasly since he's up and we've lost the camera on him. As we'll switch back. Gasly a little bit slow off the line, but luckily Hamilton's slow off the line. Norris is quick. Has he got the inside line? And that is the AlphaTauri of Tsunoda that gets a run. We don't want to let Leclerc through here. And just as we say that, Leclerc gets through. And Russell, unfortunately, is ahead of Sebastian Vettel as well. So we are going to have to push a little bit more than I was hoping to here, because we've got to stay somewhere close to this Mercedes of Charles Leclerc. And Leclerc is pushing all out as well. So we need to stay close with both of our cars to these two Mercedes. And as we lose the camera keeps losing us here in this game. But anyway, Vettel, it looks like Gasly has managed to get past Charles Leclerc here as we lose the camera once again here at Doha. Just stay with us here. If we can get this move done on Lando Norris, then we can think about turning down, because we should be quicker than that AlphaTauri in terms of overall pace. It's just whether we can hold off the McLaren. The McLaren is in backup mode here. And it looks like Vettel's got the move done on Charles Leclerc, and Leclerc loses out to Lewis Hamilton as well. And that looks like Carlos Sainz going through the Mercedes, dropping down the order here. Although it looks like Charles is going to get the run on... Can he? On Sainz at that corner? It looks like he does. And Vettel is currently battling away with Lando Norris. We're pushing a little bit more than we are with Vettel than we are with Gasly, because we do want to get him past Lando Norris here, and we can just play the long game. Although Tsunoda is looking massively quick. How did he get a 214? How did Tsunoda get a 214 here? And meanwhile, we're just going to have to turn down a little bit with Vettel because we are starting to overheat, although Charles Leclerc is right on the back of him here. Are we going to start bringing this gap down? Because I don't know how Tsunoda got a 214. I mean, is that the actual lap, and it's just because he was clear that we got the 214 over the first lap? Is that what happened here? Meanwhile, Vettel, we don't really need to challenge for that McLaren just yet, so we'll just go off the boil a little bit with Vettel, try and recover these tyres, try and get him cool down a little bit, because we do want to stay on these softs for as long as we can. And Gasly, yeah, 217 to the 218. I mean, Tsunoda is absolutely flying here. I'm a little bit lost for words for why the AlphaTauri is so quick. Where is Alexander Albon? Because he's in the other AlphaTauri. I mean, he's all the way down here. I just don't know why this lead AlphaTauri at the moment, Tsunoda, putting his name forward for a Red Bull seat if we ever come back to this series, with Alonso seemingly wanting out of Red Bull, because Alonso 23rd. If Red Bull is absolutely useless at the moment, the sister team, the junior team, pretty much the AlphaTauri team, is getting the better of them. And meanwhile, we've cooled down with Vettel, so we can get back to pushing a little bit on the... we'll keep pushing on the fuel, but we can switch back into neutral on the tyres. But anyway, Gasly, it's a 3.5 second gap here, as it is the Mercedes are 7th and 9th. So in terms of the constructors, we would go top after this race with a 4-point advantage, which would put us in prime position heading into the Munich race. Hopefully we can hang on to this. Hopefully we're not going to get caught out through the pit stops. And meanwhile, Pierre Gasly is starting to overheat a little bit here, so we're going to get him cooled down, which is going to let Tsunoda fly off into the distance here, isn't it, if we even try to cool down. But what is a pit stop here? You only lose like 6 seconds, don't you? So should we get pushing and try for an undercut? Because we should be back out into like 5th place maybe if we come into the pits. It does say we'd be 3rd after a pit stop. Are we losing even less time than that through a pit stop? Should we just get pushing with Gasly? Because we're losing, even try to just recover these tyres, we're losing so much time to Tsunoda. So should we just push and hope for the best? Is that the best way to go here in Doha, just because of the short pit lane? Obviously it's 60 miles an hour through a pit stop now, so they are even quicker than like the first season. We did have the 60 mile an hour pit stops last season, was it? Or was that just still at 40? I think that was still just at 40 last season, so it's going to be really quick through the pits here, and we can get off this tyre at any point. So we're just going to try see if we can go any quicker than Tsunoda here, because these tyres are going to start going off pretty quickly. We did a 2:17, about 7 tenths quicker, and then it would all be about the undercut. Getting out in front of Lando Norris is the main aim here from what we're doing on this tyre at the moment. We're at 50%. Vettel is there or thereabouts, so we're just going to get him pushing a little bit more since his tyres are overheated as well. We just want a little bit of a gap between the two cars, although they're 6 seconds apart, but we do need to allow for any mistakes during the pit stop. We don't want to both cars, if there's a mistake made, we don't want both cars, if we're double stacking, to be affected by that pit stop if there is a mistake. But anyway, Gasly, these tyres are at 43% now. If we run down the order, we've got Tsunoda in this AlphaTauri going pretty quick. You've got Lando Norris, Vettel 4th, Sainz and McLaren 5th. Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo is in 6th place here, ahead of the Ferrari of Daniel Ricciardo, Russell and Leclerc. Russell has actually dropped another place here, so we now have a 6-point gap in the Constructors if things stay the same. And then Hamilton is rounding out the top 10 in the Ferrari. Hulkenberg is a little bit too far behind here, but obviously it all depends what goes down over the first couple of pit stops. And is an almost 6-second gap now. Big enough to get in and out of the pit, so it's 5.5 seconds. We've got about one more lap in this tyre, I would feel, before we have to come into the pits with Gasly, so we're going to get lined up to get in and out of the pits. If we go, since we're only losing 6 seconds, is it better to just push the tyre and go for a 2-stop here? That could be a viable strategy, but we're going to go for the mediums. We'll try and make them last as long as we can. They should be able to get to the end of the race from this point out, but obviously the weather is really hot here. And we have closed down this gap now to 2.9 seconds. We are opening the gap as well over Lando Norris, who is currently in 3rd place and on for a podium here, because it doesn't look like Vettel is able to close down the gap. Vettel a lot slower than him. Is Vettel now in a position to get in and out of the pits ahead of Sainz? So we might as well get both cars in this lap, keep both our cars running the same strategy. We need that undercut on Lando Norris. It seems to get past him. Meanwhile, Giovinazzi has crashed out at some point during this race. His tyres are going to last until we get into the pits. But we are dropping a little bit of time. We're actually going slower, but not that much slower. But I'm guessing Tsunoda is pushing at the moment. And Gasly is in and out into 2nd place. So 6.3 seconds now. Should we just go in push mode? Should we aim for the 2-stop? I sort of do want to see if that strategy would work, the 2-stop here in Doha, but is it too big of a risk to throw these guaranteed points that we've got in chase of this, getting in front? I mean, we do sort of need to get this time down even further. I mean, Tsunoda's out here for quite a few laps yet. Probably got about another 2. Well, he's only used half his tyre. He's out for a long time here, and Gasly is absolutely flying on this fresh set of tyres. He's got down to 5.3 seconds. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to switch down into neutral, and we are just going to try and make these tyres last, see if we're still quicker on another lap, although obviously your out lap here is a lot quicker since you cut out a lot of the track. If you pit here and then your lap starts here, your out lap is going to be quicker than an actual racing lap. As you can see over the first sector, we're about 5.6 seconds slower. 4.9 seconds to Tsunoda in front, so this is going to be the first idea of where we are on these medium tyres. And we are 2:16.8, so we're about 8 tenths quicker than the car in front, which should put us out in front of Tsunoda after a pit stop. But then Tsunoda would be on the fresher tyres. So we do have this free pit stop, so we are actually going to go for it here. We're going to go for it with both cars and then get back onto another pair of soft tyres, because I feel that is the best way to close this gap down in front, because all these cars do need to pit as well. We've got our pit stop done and we're back into a position now where we were before we actually made that pit stop. Vettel's a little bit further behind than he was against Norris, but if he can just push through this stint, hopefully there's no mistakes from the car, though it is a pretty easily drivable track. There's not usually many lockups like we see from the other tracks, so just pushing all out for a stint is not going to have the same effect on us here. As we see Gasly now closing down this gap, he's about a second quicker now, so this should work out. If we can get in front, or somewhere close and then get onto a soft tyre, because we might even see Tsunoda, the AlphaTauri, sometimes the AI just like to game the system and go for 2 of the same tyre compound. But I'm hoping that he's going to switch up for a medium at some point. But we're about halfway through this Grand Prix now, and we can just sort of switch back now. If we can get onto a fresh soft tyre even before Tsunoda does, that might work out. But then we're leaving ourselves a little bit vulnerable towards the end of the race, so we're not actually going to do that. Whereas Vettel has now pushed so much that he's managed to get past Lando Norris here, although Lando Norris has been into the pits. That is why I was thinking Vettel had actually passed Lando Norris on track, but he hasn't done. Who is that running right at the back? That's Joseph Newgarden, although he has been into the pits. But Ford has not quick around this circuit, but then on his outlap, obviously, we're going to see a lot of cars get towards setting that fastest lap, and Gasly is slowing down a little bit, although no, we're still about 8 tenths quicker over the course of a lap. Although if Tsunoda does keep pushing, we're just going to have to see what his outlap is going to be like on a soft tyre, although his outlap, it's going to be overdone, isn't it? So if we pit at the same time, we know we're quicker than the pits in the AlphaTauri. Pushing all out on this medium tyre, is that going to be quicker than a soft tyre? Has anyone done more than 1 lap on a fresh pair of softs here? Has Ocon been out more than 1 lap? Who's done more than 1 lap? Lando Norris has been out for more than 1 lap now, so what time is Lando Norris getting? A 2:17.7, although he's cooling down the tyres. So it might just be worth staying out a little bit longer. Even when Tsunoda comes into the pits, we're going to be 1.92. Tsunoda's pushing into the pits here, is he? No, we're just slowing down a little bit. Having a few bad corners, 2.3. This gap is getting bigger. But Gasly will go through into the lead now. Vettel, I don't think he's going to get out into second, because Tsunoda's going to get in and out of the pits in as little time as possible. So Tsunoda comes out 1.8 seconds behind. So if we see that gap start to fall, that is when we're going to have to get into the pits. As it is still extending at the moment. Should we just push the fuel? Because he is on a soft tyre, 2.2. Should we push the fuel and try and get a big enough gap to get in and out of the pits here? Vettel should be able to get in and out now in front of Lando Norris. There are 8 laps remaining, so we don't really have much room to actually push with the fuel, so we can't really go high mode. And 2.2 seconds, it looks like it's staying about the same. If we can keep this gap just increasing slightly, or even more than that, is Tsunoda's still pushing here, and he is losing time. Tsunoda's losing time. The Mercedes are still stuck down in 7th and 8th. Vettel is closing up a little bit as well. He can get into the pits at any point, so we're going to get... What is Vettel doing here? 2:16.2. He's not as quick on these mediums as Gasly is, so we're going to get him in and out with this lap. Whereas Gasly, 3.1, this 3-second gap looks like it's staying about the same, although Tsunoda should start to turn down any time around now, as the AI likes to do. So this gap should still increase, but should we get Gasly in this lap, 3.2 seconds is still not enough for what we want to do, and we do have to turn down the fuel right about now with Vettel as well. We've got a little bit more room to play with. Gasly, 4.1 seconds should we get in this lap. 4.2, is that enough? I mean, we're still so much quicker than Tsunoda here. We've got another lap in these tyres. No matter what, 4.7 seconds, is that too much? We should get in and out in front of him. We're going to do it this lap just to make sure we don't go a lap too long and lose some time. So Gasly is going to dive into the pits. But on a fresh pair of soft tyres, we are going to come out in front of Tsunoda, and we are going to be able to push. Vettel is into the pits. He should get back out into 3rd place as well. He's going to be able to push through to the end. Meanwhile, we do have to go medium on the tyres. We just have to on the fuel, but we do just have to make sure these tyres don't overheat too much. Well, they are going to overheat, obviously, but are they going to overheat to the point that they're going to run out before the end of the Grand Prix? But meanwhile, actually, we can just sit in neutral, can't we? Because we can actually push this if we do see Tsunoda start to claw back this gap. But Vettel is out as well. Can we chase down this gap in front? 5.6 seconds. We know we should be quicker than the AlphaTauri, but Tsunoda's just getting so much out of the AlphaTauri. Because look, Albon is 60 seconds behind the lead, and that is like 57 seconds. No, it's almost 60 now, isn't it? Because he's falling even further. And yeah, No, we're pushing. We're just going to push because even Vettel can come in again, so we might as well push for this second place. Vettel does have another free pit stop here. Even if he wants to, he can get in and out ahead of Norris again, so we might as well just keep pushing here, see if we can bring down this gap, whereas Tsunoda is still falling back from Pierre Gasly. We do just need to keep an eye on the fuel as well. So it's pretty much down to Sebastian Vettel here. He's got a mammoth chase to try and catch Tsunoda. Tsunoda's been pretty quick all this weekend, but it does look like we are picking up the time. Whether we've got the tyre life to do this all the way through, that is another question. In doing this, we might open ourselves up to having to make another pit stop. Obviously, we do have a free pit stop, and we shouldn't lose this third place because it is 4 seconds and increasing back to Lando Norris. It's 3.7 seconds now. We're almost a second quicker per lap. Whether we're quick enough to do that over the next 4 or so laps, that is another question entirely, but hopefully, is it going to be quick enough? Are we going to be quick enough to do that? Tsunoda's going about the same pace as the last lap, as is Sebastian Vettel here. So, and we lose a little bit of time in the second sector. Is Tsunoda losing time in the second sector? No. Tsunoda's a lot quicker through the second sector. So we might just have to accept this third place finish from Sebastian Vettel because we're not really picking up the time now. And Tsunoda had a massive increase over that last lap, although he's starting to go a little bit slower this lap because he's in backup mode. He's not pushing this lap, Tsunoda. And he's 4 tenths down, so we're going to start to claw back that gap now. But we're not going to be able to claw it back enough to try and pass him on track. So we're just sort of going to have to accept that Vettel is going to have third place here. But we might as well just keep him pushing because we can't get into the pits at any point. The tyres for Gasly have overheated, but there's no real point turning them down. We've got 3 laps remaining here. And we're going to recover the fuel. With both cars, we've got about 4 seconds. It's not going to pick up, so what we're just going to do, just to try, and we've got a front wing that is getting a little bit worse for wear, but we might as well just get another pit stop over and done with. We can't get this 4 seconds down. We'll get onto some fresh tyres and get pushing again with Vettel. Just see how quick we can go. We don't have to risk anything. We're in and out. Still in third place here. We've done 3 pit stops and been able to retain this third place. 7 seconds. If we're absolutely massively quick. Obviously, there's only 2 laps left, but you've seen stranger things happen. Maybe Tsunoda will have make a mistake on this final lap, but it's not really going to be that, is it? As Vettel does a 2:09 as his fastest lap. Can't even speak. His fastest lap on his outlap out of the pits, considering we cut out a lot of the track. But this time is coming down 5 seconds. But Gasly is going to come across the line. We are going to have a win and a third place from Vettel. 2 cars on the podium. Mercedes 7th and 8th, which is what we wanted to see. We're going to head into Munich in the lead of the Constructors' Championship. Vettel is going to come across the line in third place. Norris and Sainz, the 2 McLarens, will grab 4th and 5th. Bottas will come across the line in 6th. Then we've got the 2 Mercedes, Leclerc and Russell a bit further up the road than him. Hamilton moved up into 9th place, and Hulkenberg in a Williams will round out the top 10 here. So a first and a third here. The official standings, quite a lot. A big advantage over Mercedes that we had there. Mercedes couldn't put it together at all during the race. No rules broken. We pick up 40 points after that Grand Prix. First and third on the podium. And as we see, 43 points. Leclerc, as we know, is confirmed drivers' champion. Not much we can do about that, but we do have a 12-point gap over Mercedes. So if we can stay ahead or somewhere near the Mercedes in Munich, we will be retaining our Constructors' Championship. Whether we can do that or not is another question entirely, and one we will only get answered in the season/series finale, which is coming up next time. But anyway, we'll just take the interview to finish this episode. And Pierre Gasly had to apologise after soaking a representative from Doha. with champagne. We'll just say was playing around. It doesn't upset anyone. And yes, so that is that. And Gasly is now beating Vettel in the driver's standing. Gasly has 4 wins to Sebastian Vettel's 1. If we can get Gasly another win as well, he will have tied Leclerc's wins for the season. Leclerc has 5 wins. He doesn't have the 7 that he had the first season for Ferrari. The second season he only had 2, a little bit better this season. So this will be Charles Leclerc's second Drivers' Championship. This with 2 teams, the first one with Ferrari and this season with Mercedes. But Mercedes will be bringing an upgrade. They didn't actually bring an upgrade to Doha. Maybe they're working on an engine, but it's only a short time to Munich, so if they're working on an engine, they will not get an upgrade. Heading into Munich, I wouldn't think, depending on when they started working on it, or a gearbox might not be done if that's what they're working on. But you never know, they might be working on a front wing, because the front wing is crucial, and that is one of the areas they do need to improve. So we should see an improvement from Mercedes in the next race, and it is going to be an absolute barn burner of a finale to this season, whatever it's going to be, but it's going to be raining next time out, so we'll go through that in the next episode. But anyway, for this one, it's done. I'll see you down the road in Germany for the Munich Grand Prix, but until that time, goodbye.